Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Trail of Cthulhu First Edition tabletop role-playing game rules by Pelgrane Press. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this show may include mature themes and scenes. All content, including names, places, events, and so forth, which may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or eldritch, is strictly coincidental. My name is Rena Henze, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your keeper tonight, Keeper Rena, and tonight we are playing the first prelude in our campaign for Trail of Cthulhu, Silver Screams. We're very excited to bring you this new campaign and this new system. We hope you will enjoy it as much as we enjoy playing it. Before we get started with the introduction of my wonderful player tonight, I'd like to thank all of you, the listeners, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. We literally could not do any of this without you and your listening ears. If you'd like to see what you can find from us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. And now, without further ado, my first player, to my right.
Hello, I am Nichelle. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am playing Lilith St, who is an actress who also goes by she, her pronouns.
Wonderful. Cannot wait to see what happens with Lilith. All right, so we open tonight on a movie lot in 1936 Hollywood. It's a warm June evening. The streets outside are bustling as people head home for the night from their jobs, from whatever it is they've been doing. The movie studio has begun closing down production on its most recent film, The Devil's Locket, which is a gaslight detective story that you, Lilith, had the fortune of having a part in. Everyone's moving around, hustling and bustling, desperate to get home for the evening. Prohibition's been lifted, so there's some people going out for drinks. Whether or not you choose to join them is completely up to you. But at the moment, you are seated in a chair in the makeup studio for Avalon Studios, a small indie studio challenging the big five of the time. And you are getting your makeup removed. It was a long day of filming this last day. You had to film scenes from several different points during the film. You had to get a bit dusty in some places, mimicking the soot of Gaslight era England. You had to go running at one point. Your character tripped and fell and had to get mud splashed over her dress. And that was the last scene that you filmed. So you are seated in the makeup artist chair as Phoebe is removing your mud and makeup and other detritus of the day. Phoebe Jones is a makeup artist, the lead makeup artist for the studio. She's fussing over you, carefully wiping away the dirt and the grime. And the camera pulls in tight on Lilith's face at this moment. So why don't you describe for the audience what Lilith looks like? Who do we see seated in this chair?
You see a young, petite woman in her mid to late 20s. Fair skin, dark features, big, prominent brows and cheekbones, almond eyes, long, dark hair from her culture. And yeah, she's about 5'2", 5'3", plays the perfect damsel in distress per usually what I have to end up doing on these sets. So the last few days have been rather arduous in that aspect, a lot of physical running back and forth to do these last few sequences that they wanted done.
So we see Lilith as Phoebe is brushing off some of the dirt from around her eyes, being very careful not to get it in your eyes. And you're being watched from the chair next to you by a woman named Clarissa Elliott, who is the lead actress. She is a white woman, very tall, very angelic of features. She's got big blue eyes and long blonde hair, and she usually plays the love interest in these films, an up-and-coming actress. And you had a scene with her today because you were playing the villain's deceived wife, who was totally horrified by everything that he was doing and ended up dying tragically at the end of the film. And you died in Clarissa's character's arms. And she's looking at you with just a hint of amusement as Phoebe is fussing over you. And she says, well, my dear, how was filming for you today?
Pretty usual. I mean, all told of how these things usually go.
You know, I never get to do a dramatic death scene. They never let the love interest die in big films. No one wants a tragic story these days. They all want the happy ending. So I never get to die. What's it like?
Well, I guess it depends on your character for the day. Today, I played a distraught wife. My husband did many things, but I still love him, even if he's, rogue of heart. Though I do feel that this death was better than most.
How so?
I usually don't get to die in the arms of a beautiful woman, so.
She turns bright red. Just immediately flushes from her cleavage all the way up to the top of her head, her hairline. Says, oh my. Well, that's a compliment. Thank you. And Phoebe, the makeup artist, who is now wiping grime away from your throat, your collarbone areas, what can be seen above the lace collar of your 1800s gown, is now laughing. She's trying very hard to keep it behind a handkerchief that she gently holds up to her mouth, but she cannot hide how much she is enjoying this.
My favorite death. You weren't a part of the studio then, but I think my favorite one so far is the one where I got shot at the top of a set of stairs and had to fall down them, breaking the banister. They were all sad, supposedly.
You didn't have an extra fall down the stairs for you? She looks horrified.
No, they don't do that for me yet. Monday, maybe.
Well, she looks genuinely flabbergasted. I've never had to do a stunt of that sort. Normally they've had people fill in for me.
Oh, I'm sure you'd be really good at it.
Falling downstairs.
I mean, that's what every woman wants to do, right? Be dramatic, show emotion.
That's true. And she smiles a little bit and looks down at her hands, which are just sort of gently clasped. She's out of costume at this point. Because being the lead actress, she got her makeup and everything removed first. And so she's just been watching as Phoebe attends to you. And she says, sometimes I think it would be nice to do other roles. You must get so much variety in what you do. I get to fall in love or be the damsel who attracts the attention of the male lead. And don't get me wrong, he is very handsome. And she's referring to Henry Dawlish, who is the lead actor in the most recent film and in several other films for Avalon Studios fairly recently. But it starts to feel the same after a while. I've heard that Evan Moore, the director, is planning some more interesting films coming up she looks side to side in the horror genre.
Oh. Do tell me more.
Well, we start on the next film very soon. We never get a break, any of us. But I've heard it has something to do with a scientist, like a Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein kind of character who's working in mysterious things he shouldn't even touch. And it's going to be very dark and terrifying. And she gives a little shudder with a smile. Doesn't it sound delightful?
Absolutely delicious. Are you going to try to aim for something specific with your character?
Well, we haven't gotten the script yet. I'm assuming we're going to be starting rehearsals and things of that sort within the next week, considering we just wrapped this film today. But I'm hoping to be allowed some deep, dramatic tension, the dark depths of the soul of betrayal, and she's getting really animated. And, well, the sort of things I don't normally get to do.
There's something poetic about that, if you think about it. To demonstrate and act out the differences between philosophy and beauty, logic and sensation.
She looks slightly baffled. Oh, I suppose. Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Yes.
I bet you'll do perfect. As you always do. You always get your lines done first try.
I spend a lot of time practicing.
I usually have to practice in my compact mirror because, well, there's not one in where I get to practice anyway.
And she looks a little confused and tilts her head. But you're a second-tier actress at a studio. You surely can afford some things.
Looks aren't everything.
But they are quite a lot.
And then she kind of quickly is like, I can't compete.
Yes, some of us are just born with things that help us get places. And she primps a little bit.
I am keeping my inner thoughts. I think it's very much the actress of placid neutrality. Is very much over my face. This is very practiced.
Clarissa seems a little bit clueless at times. She's very nice. She's not the kind of catty sort of personality you've had to work with other actresses when you first started working at the studios. She just seems blissfully unaware of things.
Yeah.
She's never had to interact with a certain type of prejudice. She's never had to really deal with certain realities of life. She's very privileged. She's nice, though. And she smiles at you and says, well, I've got to be going for the evening. It was wonderful to work with you again. I do hope you'll be working on the next film with us. Scripts go out next week, like I said, so I think maybe you'll have an interesting part.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to seeing them letting you do a little bit more.
She puts a hand to her brow dramatically. She's not the best actress. There's a reason she keeps getting cast in these particular parts. But she's nice. That's what everyone says. At least she's nice. And she leaves the room in a cloud of perfume. And that's when Phoebe loses it. Phoebe is this woman in her 50s. She's kind of stout. She's wearing a long floral print dress. that is about 10 years out of date. She's got her hair pulled up in a bun. She's holding a cloth in one hand and a makeup brush in the other. And she just bends over, wheezing. Says, oh, dear Clarissa, dear Clarissa. Oh, my goodness.
Miss Jones, you didn't even keep it together when she was here.
I tried, Lilith. I tried so hard, but sometimes just people. I don't know how you put up with it on a day-to-day basis.
I don't know. You see more of them than I do.
Yes, but nobody pays attention to me, dear. And she starts taking off your lipstick very gently with some lotion and a cloth. Because no one pays attention to the makeup artist, or the hairdresser, or the costumer. They talk around us like we're not there. You notice she didn't even seem to notice I was here. You, on the other hand, everyone has to notice you. You have to talk to people.
Yes, that's what I get paid to do.
And I get paid to be invisible.
No, you get paid for your work to be on display, not your body.
It's true. No one pays for my sparkling personality.
I get to enjoy it every day.
She laughs. And she pulls back your hair so she can get some of the grime and the dirt that got up behind your ear. She pulls back the hair there. Says, dear, I think your aunt would be very proud of you for what you did today. You were magnificent, the little bits they let me see.
Thank you.
And she leans in, dabbing a bit more at your neck. Lillian St. Cyr is just such a powerhouse. And I wish they'd give her more roles than what she gets. You know? And I'm glad you're getting opportunities because you have skill like she does. She shakes her head. It was a real pleasure to work with her. The 2 times I was able to do her makeup, she's even without speaking, in the old movies, the old films, she has presence and you have something like that.
I know that she appreciated your work.
And she brushes off the back of your neck and she steps back to carefully scans you to make sure she's gotten every bit of dirt and makeup and mascara and everything off you that she possibly can.
The rest is going to have to come out in a shower, Phoebe. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I know. I did my best. But what can I say? Evan really likes the actual practical effects.
They were very heavy with the mud today.
It will read wonderfully on film.
I hope so.
We don't want you to suffer for nothing, dear.
Believe me, I suffer for much.
For your art. And she chuckles a little bit, starts cleaning up her supplies and gestures for you to stand up. Says, well, that's all I need to do for now. She half closes one eye and looks at you quizzically. I assume you'll be here for the next film. Although I've never done makeup for a horror film. We'll see how that goes. I wonder if they want me to get dramatic with it.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. But, we're not allowed to show as much gore anymore, unfortunately.
Yes. So maybe there'll be a little less mud. And she laughs.
Yes, and a lot more eyebrows and frightened faces.
Give me your best frightened face, dear.
How's this?
She looks at you and nods and says, I can arch that eyebrow a bit more. And she starts going into little technical details. Yes, I think you will do wonderfully in those films, dear.
You're not allowed to pluck them.
I know. We've had this discussion.
I know it's the rage, and it looks really good, but I prefer not to.
I understand why, dear. Don't worry. Besides, your aunt would probably have my head if I did.
Ugh.
And she steps back and she smiles at you and says that she'll see you in the chair when it's time for your next role. And do be careful out there, dear. I can watch over you in the studio, but do be careful.
Don't worry.
I remember youth before I worked in this industry. Enjoy yourself, but not too much.
Of course. Thank you, Miss Jones.
And she smiles at you. And the door opens as you put your hand on it to exit. And the young PA, Daphne, who's friends with Kit, she's the other PA on the studio, pokes her head in and says, Miss St. Cyr, Director Moore wants to see you before you leave.
Oh. It's rather late for a meeting, isn't it?
Oh, he's just finished with something else going on, and he said he needed to talk to you before you go. And I'm really glad I caught you, because I really didn't want to have to tell him that you weren't here. I mean, he's a really nice man and everything, but...
No, you're fine, Daphne. You're fine. Are you going to also be present, or...?
Taking notes.
Okay.
That's what I normally do.
You can tell him I'll be right there.
Okay. Daphne's a little jittery, and she always talks at 1,000 miles an hour because she doesn't know how to slow down. You don't know if it's nerves or if that's just how she talks. And she bolts off. You don't know how she runs in heels, but she does.
I just look back at Miss Jones. Don't get on to me. She'll figure it out.
One of these days, she will.
She has a lot of pressure on her. And a lot of people don't listen to what she says, but her head's in the right spot.
So it is. Well, don't keep Evan waiting.
I don't plan to. And I'll head on out of the trailer and to Mr. Moore's office.
Mm-hmm. So you walk across the film lot. You see things being torn down, some of the outdoor pieces that had been set up for the forest that you were running through dramatically, having mud thrown on you as you ran, being taken down. And then the back lot of the Victorian brownstone is being removed, where the handsome lead detective and his wife had their touching romantic scene at the end as they were reunited after you died tragically in her arms, of course. Mm-hmm. And you make your way through the film studio, a lot people bustling around you. It's a little bit quieter. Some people have gone home. Most of the actors have gone home at this point or gone off to do whatever it is they do with their evenings. And you make your way over to Director Moore's office. It's a fairly small office. This isn't a big film studio. He doesn't have the space that you would expect from a director in a larger studio like Golden Mayer. But it has his name on it and a nameplate. And you knock and he says, "Come in." And you open the door. Daphne is seated in a corner with her legs crossed, very unladylike. She's got a notepad in one hand and a pen in the other. And her legs are bouncing slightly as if she's had too much coffee this late at night. And seated behind the desk is Director Moore. He's a tall man, broad-shouldered, curly hair. He wears white collared shirt with the sleeves rolled up because he's been very busy, so he doesn't have time for a suit jacket. He's taken off his tie. He's scribbling some notes on something, maybe a script, maybe post-production notes because you've just wrapped up filming. Who knows? But he looks up at you and he gives you this wide smile, and he says, Lilith, it's so good of you to drop by. I know it's a little bit late. I'd hoped to catch you before you left for the evening. I'm sorry. I hoped to speak to everyone earlier, but I got caught up with post-production meetings. And, well, Henry you don't need to know about Henry. Henry, the lead actor, is well known for his artistic temperament. Mm. So you know about Henry, which is just the phrase people use whenever Henry's had one of his tantrums. So Director Moore smiles at you and gestures to a chair across from the desk. Says, do have a seat, Lilith.
I'll sit down.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I know we normally go through a casting process for our next film, and we haven't done that for the film that we're starting next week. I have actually personally been casting people in roles based on who I think should be playing parts in movies. In this movie in particular, it's something new, something interesting that we're going to be doing. And Edgar Radigan, who is the studio head, he founded this studio. You know this. You've never met Mr. Radigan, but you know of him. Edgar is very excited about the new direction we're moving in to try and compete. And this film is going to be the first in a line of films. And we're moving into the scarier films, let's say, well, as scary as they'll allow us to get. And well, I have a part I think you would just be perfect for, and I don't even need to ask you to audition. If you would like to be interested in this movie. And he gives you a big broad smile. He's known for his what he calls gentle directing. A lot of directors of the time are very in your face, are very using tricks to get actors to do what they want, especially for actors coming out of the silent film era where they didn't have to talk, they just had to emote. He's very much in more of the just talking to people and using like gentle tone of voice and smiling and so on, just to get people comfortable, because he thinks that people will act better if they feel comfortable around you. And so this is on par for him. And says, well, I can send you the script tomorrow if you'd like to have a look at it, but I wanted you to know it's not a casting call. I'm not going to have you line up with 6 or 7 other actresses for this part and read me lines. I've seen enough over the last 6 months that I've been working with you to know that you're who I want. And it's not the lead role. Clarissa's already going to get that one. But I think it will give you some interesting things to do. It's different.
I think Lilith just raises an eyebrow and has her usual smile. That's very, I'm not going to say placating, but it's very much of like accepting, less, makes her more digestible to people.
Exactly. You've carefully cultivated this reaction to especially men in this industry. You've had to camouflage yourself a little bit. And he doesn't seem to think there's anything out of the ordinary. Yes, this is just how people react to me. And he smiles and says, well, if you're interested, which I very much hope you are, you wouldn't be married to anyone. You wouldn't be, the damsel in distress in this role. I think it would be a challenge for you. You've got skill. I noticed in this film, you've got a nuance to your acting that I saw in the silent films, where you had to rely on your facial expression and your body language because no one could hear you speak. And I think that could be really interesting. So I want to give you more to do.
I'm listening.
If you'll take it.
Of course.
So I don't want to spoil the role for you. And I think you'll find it more interesting when you read it. But I like you, Lilith, as an actress. I think you have potential, and there's only so much I can give you, but I want to give you what I can, if you'll take it. And he pulls out some papers, says, I can mail over or courier over the script to you tomorrow. I have a few last minute notes I want to make, but will you work on my movie, Miss St. Cyr? And he gives you a big, disarming smile.
Usual contract package.
Of course.
Any additional addendums?
He looks a little bemused, says, well, we're filming right here on the studio lot, where there's no travel involved. There's nothing I can think of that would be out of the ordinary. You've been working in the film industry long enough. You would know the basics. I can't think of anything that... Do you have anything in mind?
No, but I might later, after I see the script.
And he chuckles a little bit, says, well, have your manager talk to my manager. And he laughs. That's me. And we'll work out what we can do if there's anything, which there shouldn't be. Shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary.
Oh, I don't think that there would be.
He looks very bemused. You have this effect on people. Like he doesn't quite know what to do with you. But then he smiles and looks at Daphne and says, Daphne, make a note to have Jimmy take over Miss St. Cyr's script to her first thing tomorrow morning. Once I've finished my notes this evening. And Daphne nods and scribbles furiously. You can hear the pen scratching on the paper because she's moving so furiously.
Of course. And I will be able to give you my answer after I'm done reading it. But yes, of course. I appreciate that you think that this is a role made for me.
He leans forward, puts his elbows on the desk and his chin in his hands and says, I pride myself as a director on being able to see interesting things in people, not just this is a pretty face or this is a handsome man. You know, at Avalon Studios, because we're not one of the big studios, we're able to do things a little bit less box office, let's say.
More avant-garde.
I like that. But we can do things differently. We experiment. And while there are people I have to cast because of who they're related to, or certain other things, well, I feel that you and some other people we're working with, you have potential that I can draw out. And I don't know, I can't promise to make you a big star because, and he gets a little bit flustered here, because of, yes, I can mold you into someone powerful in Hollywood. In your lane, of course.
But of course.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. And now that he's back on firmer footing conversationally, he steers back to, wonderful, wonderful. So I will have the script over to you in the morning, and then you can read it and let me know. Script readings start next week, because Edgar, Mr. Radigan, wants to get this rolling as quickly as possible. And, this city never sleeps.
Question. May I ask what Clarissa is doing?
She's the lead, of course.
Yes, we all know that. But what will she be doing?
So he looks a little uncomfortable, like doesn't know if he should be talking or not. Says, well, she's the love interest, but she will experience an understanding of who her romantic opposite actually is, and they will have to learn to come together somehow at the end.
I kind of play with my nails just a little bit. I heard that she is looking to expand her skill set. So if there's something that perhaps is a little avant-garde, she might be down for it. Just a thought.
He raises an eyebrow. as if he genuinely hadn't considered Clarissa might want to do something else. Oh, I'll keep that in mind. I'll have a look at the script and see. Clarissa's a very nice actress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's things we can do with her. But of course, this stays between us.
Of course. I wouldn't dream of saying anything.
But Clarissa will go places, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
She's already where she needs to be. And very sort of suggestive of, I can't really do much more, but my hands are tied, kind of intonation. But we'll give her what we can give her. She will shine, as she always does, in the lead role. But
bright as always.
But I think you can shine too, Lilith.
In my own way. Good night, Mr. Moore.
Good night, Miss St. Cyr. And he nods his head in kind of a dismissal.
Good night, Daphne.
Good night, Miss St. Cyr. Good night. I'll have that sent over to you first thing in the morning.
And she just kind of nods and smiles, and I'll walk out.
You walk out with the prospect of a new script for a movie you don't really know anything about. How does Lilith feel about the fact that she's just been given a role without being put through an audition for it or a casting call or anything of that sort? What are her feelings at the moment?
I think I'm too guarded.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very much a don't process.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is finally fruition after 6 months of working towards this goal.
Mm-hmm.
Of coming into my own. And, you know, the family stardom and everything is one thing, but to have a small piece of it be mine, nobody can take that from me.
Mm-hmm. You've been noticed. It's a powerful thing. And you were noticed for yourself, not because of your famous aunt. And not for being who you are ethnically or any other criteria, but noticed as Lilith. And that is a pretty intoxicating feeling, even if you don't allow it to take over yourself. Someone has seen you, or at least hinted at having seen you. And who knows where you can go from there. So it's with that bubbly feeling that maybe you try to quell a little bit, or not, up to you, that you set off for the evening. What does Lilith do on a typical night after wrapping filming for the day? In this case, wrapping filming for the film for the evening. She wasn't invited to the end of filming wrap-up party.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, even if people may respect her on the studio lot, she just doesn't get invited to certain places because of who she is.
Distracting anyway.
Mm-hmm. So what does she normally do? What would she be doing tonight as she's gotten her makeup off, her costume is off, she's got a new role to prepare for once the script comes in? What would she do?
I think that I would probably, I guess, prep a little bit and go through her usual, like, practice routine of various different aspects of emotional display while she waits for Kit to get off, and then head home. And then at home, very much of like, put on a record and listen to some music and probably just dive into what I know of the genre of horror.
So maybe reading some Dracula, some Frankenstein. You would have, if it was something that you or your family was interested in, you might have access to Penny Dreadfuls, which were these serialized stories in the late 1800s, early 1900s of lurid horror tales of things of vampires and mummies and robber barons and serial killers that have now been collected into pulpy books that you could maybe read some if you're interested in those.
I think the family has a house, and so like I have my own room, but like there's a family library and whatnot, and so I can go and collect a few things of like what my cousins are probably reading and that are a little younger and whatnot. So collect a few of those.
So you collect some of the books. You pick up one called The Vampire of Paris, which is from 1876, but has been reprinted all in one book. So it was 16 serializations originally. And you take the books back to your room and you start flipping through things. Is your family noisy? Do they tend to bother you a lot? Do they leave you alone when you're in your room? What is the family dynamic like when you come home from work?
I think she leaves work at work. And it's very much of, cousins are coming in and out of the room. Maybe there's something I got to go do or whatnot, but it's very much a familiar and comfortable space. And probably the only way that I can get peace and quiet would be to probably just curl up in a chair in my room and then just kind of like make it look towards facing away from the door so the room looks empty for any immediate family members who want to come bother me. And so you sit in your chair with your books, you curl up, you think about this new script that's going to be coming your way. You think about the interesting things that happened in the filming of The Devil's Locket and the experiences you've had and the connection you have with Phoebe Jones now from working with her on this film set. And I probably actually showered. I forgot. That's still mud in my hair.
Yes.
So I probably showered when I got home. I'm just like,
you're all fresh and clean.
Chores,
And your mother comes into the room after you've been reading just for a little bit and kneels down next to you. She's holding a little box in her hand, this purple velvet box, and she smiles at you and says, "So I hear," and she reaches and brushes a bit of still slightly damp hair away from your face. "I hear that today was the last day of filming for your first big movie."
Yes. And there was a lot of smelly mud. I'm sorry for the porcelain. I tried my best.
She laughs, this deep, deep laugh that you have loved since you were a child, this very comforting sort of sound. And she leans back on her heels a little bit. She's wearing a long dress and no shoes. She doesn't wear shoes in the house, which is not typical for women of the day, but she prefers to have the floor under her feet. And she leans back on her heels slightly and says, "You know, Lilith, dear, we're all so very proud of you and the work that you've done and the path that you're building for yourself." And she closes her eyes for a minute. She looks a little emotional. "I love for you, my dear, that you are forging your own path. you're not just following in Redwing's footsteps. You're not just doing what she does. You're doing your own things. And it's wonderful to see. I will see your movie when it comes out. Very happily. Mud and all. She chuckles. But I also need you to know how wonderful it is to see you taking chances that aren't the kinds of roles we normally get. That you're able to be seen, to be visible as you and who you are in other ways. And there's a pause for a moment as she looks deep into your eyes. It's powerful for us, for all of us. Not just you, not just this family, but for all of us, for other people to see you and to see what you can do. And to know that you're not just a character in a Western or the noble Indian who is there to be rescued or to be loved from afar or to fight the great expansion. And there's a little bit of a tear in the corner of her eye. It speaks for all of us. And I want you to know that. And she takes your hand and she opens the box. And inside is a necklace. It's got a cameo-style pendant of a woman's face in profile, blue and white, with a gold chain. And she says, "This belonged to your grandmother, my mother, when she was on the stage. She had to hide who she was to be allowed to perform for anyone. She always kept this with her. If she wasn't wearing it when she was performing, it was in her pocket. She said it gave her good luck, that it helped her feel connected. A picture of her mother." She traces the edge of the cameo. "And now that you're forging your own path, I want you to have it." She closes your hand around it.
I think in this moment, I'm not an actress. I am a daughter. I am a survivor. I am a voice. And to hear, I've heard stories of, and I'm going to use a term from player Nichelle's background because I want to be respectful of those who I'm doing, and I'm not familiar with that language. Kaya, my grandmother's story is something I was raised with, and so yeah, I think I just hold on to it and say, "Thanks, Mom."
We're all behind you. We are all with you. And we are all so very, very proud of you. And she would be too if she was still with us.
She still sees me.
Your mother smiles. Yes. Yes, she does. And she leans over to put the necklace around your neck if you allow her to. And she kisses you on the forehead and brushes back your hair, says, "You're going to be amazing."
Please, I'm already amazing. I had somebody teach me very well.
And that, I think, is where we will end this episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Nichelle, for joining me. I look forward to seeing your future adventures. But in the meantime, Thank you, and good night.